Hi there, Evan here with Crypto and Markets for Wednesday, July 4th, 2018. Firstly, I do apologize for not being on here in a while. I did need some time off, if you do understand. If you follow me on Twitter, I have still been on Twitter, just with my work and everything else. I have been a little bit busier than usual as of late. It did need to take some time away from the YouTube side. Anyhow, here I am. And before I get into it, happy 4th of July to all my American followers out there. Anyhow, I wanted to do a quick video today to sort of focus on the Bank of Canada and how the rhetoric's really changed lately. Now, as y'all know, at the beginning of the year, the Bank of Canada, as they have been in the past, was mentioning all these risks in the economy, but still felt that growth, the risks of inflation were still to the upside, which is the reason, as far as from a rates perspective, they had very much an upside bias. But the last 3 or 4 months, if you have noticed, that's changed. Now, why has that changed? Well, firstly, if you look at the actual data that's come out, again, whether you believe it or not is another thing, but anyhow, data that has come out the last 3 or 4 months, we all know has not been good. Bank of Canada sees the exact same thing we're seeing and has to respond accordingly. Okay, there's that part. But there's something else that I've mentioned in previous videos that I think the Bank of Canada is starting to pay attention to now. The yield curve. Notice the rhetoric the last month or so. When have we seen the real pickup? As the yield curve start to really flatten out like it did. In fact, I put out a tweet on this yesterday. As of yesterday afternoon, this 2s10s was around 24 basis points only now. And again, being a leading indicator of recessions, the Bank of Canada sees this. But be careful how it was worded, though. Remember, they're not going to explicitly say out loud, oh, things are turning down. They're just going to say, oh, the risks have moved to the downside. What kind of tells me to look at the yield curve above all else? Look at one of their speeches they did, I believe, last week. They talked about the two biggest risks were the trade war and the stress test. Firstly, let's cover one right now, the stress test. Okay? The stress test came about as a consequence to their policy. Remember what I've said. When the 2 rate cuts were done in 2015, that led to the blow-off top in credit that we saw. Okay? So, the mortgage stress test, okay, whether they went too far or whatever, okay, it's another discussion. But how can they blame the stress test when it was their fault, their policy that caused it in the first place? That's the first part. Secondly, the trade war. Okay, what can a central bank do about a trade war? They track inflation and they act accordingly. That's all they can do. And as it is right now, yes, I wasn't happy the Canadian government put counter tariffs on consumer goods that we need, as we're seeing the declining value of the Canadian dollar, increasing cost to us at the grocery store, etc. But what can they really do? React to it, do one rate hike, that's it? Worst case scenario? Again, if we're looking at it in the long term, what's there right now isn't really a super big worry, right? Again, the NAFTA negotiations are another thing. But as far as the central bank goes, they can only react to the policies that are implemented. That's all they can do. Remember, a central bank doesn't set trade policy. The government does. So what can they do? Listen and react, right? And then going back to this point about the mortgage stress test, as I've said, the reason for the rate hikes now is they're overcompensating for the mistakes in 2015. Whether we had the stress tests or not, they were still on that path anyways. So to me, that statement, again, had a whole bunch of hot air. And also, if things are so rosy in the Canadian economy, if the Bank of Canada didn't have enough problems on their plate, why did a deputy governor leave a month ago? If things are rosy, believe me, there wouldn't be any resignations. There'd be a retirement or whatever, the odd here and there, etc. But for someone to just quit, kind of makes you think that they know a lot more than they're saying, right? I rambled on enough. Sorry. To put it in closing, when you hear all this stuff from the Bank of Canada lately, what's it in relation to? They're scared of the yield curve and don't know what to say. All it is. And the data got worse. The news about the economy slowing down finally got out there to the public. And they're out of bullets. All there is to it. Now, as far as where do I stand with the July 11th meeting next Wednesday, ironically enough, I'm of the same belief. They will go ahead and hike rates, but that will be the most dovish rate hike you've ever seen. And ultimately, by the end of the year, the latest, they're going to reverse course, start saying, oh, things are bad, and do what a central bank normally does to try and revive the economy back up. Okay. Hit the like button, leave a comment down below, be sure to subscribe for more, and follow me on Twitter, @CryptoMarkets2. Y'all have a good day.